The crucible smelled like rust and ozone. Even before he stepped off the shuttle, Jace Thorne could feel the weight of alien eyes drilling into him through the pressurized glass. Rows of recruits, scaled, armored, feathered, plated, stood at perfect attention on the sand-scorched platform, their postures rigid, their glares sharper than blades. He was the only human. His boots touched the landing pad. The gravity here was heavier than Earth's, intentionally calibrated to punish. The heat radiating from the neutron star's echo made the air taste like static. Jace didn't flinch. A towering Zalvari stepped forward, claws glinting in the artificial daylight. His skin was a deep violet, ridged with ceremonial scars. Fangs rested just behind a contemptuous smirk. Instructor Kaverick, a mechanical voice boomed from the PA system. Welcome the Terran candidate. The alien's eyes swept down to Jace like examining refuse. Remove your helmet, pink skin. Jace popped the seal and pulled it off. The air clawed at his lungs, but he managed a breath. Corporal Jace Thorne. Reporting for pain. The other recruits laughed, some barking in shrill dialects. Kaverick didn't. You have no place here, the instructor said. Your species was invited as a courtesy, not a concession. Jace's voice was calm. Guess I'll be the first bad guest, then. Kaverick's smile thinned. He turned, marching down the line of watching recruits, and spoke without looking back. Trial 1, hand-to-hand. Bare bones. No gear. A half-ton Brujan warrior stepped forward, 8 feet tall, for arms, tusks like buried knives. The ground trembled beneath him. He rolled his neck, and his translator implant croaked, I break bones for breakfast. Jace removed his vest. Bruises from the Mali incursion still marred his ribs. He bounced once on his toes, cracked his knuckles, and said, Hope you're still hungry. The circle formed fast. Sand shifted. Claws clicked. The air pulsed with collective hunger for violence. Then the fight began. The Brujan charged first, shoulder lowered, arms flared. Jace sidestepped and slammed a knee into the alien's side. It was like hitting a boulder. Pain shot through his leg. The Brujan's lower hand caught Jace mid-turn and flung him across the platform. He rolled once, spat blood, and stood again. The crowd murmured. He wasn't staying down. Second pass, Jace ducked a hammer punch, slipped inside the reach, and drove 2 fingers into the Brujan's eye. The bellow that followed shook dust from the rafters. Now the fight was real. They grappled, stumbled, struck. Jace's nose bled, his shoulder wrenched, his side throbbed. But he was still moving. Still thinking. On Earth, he'd survived worse, bombings, betrayals, 17 days eating moss in a Malinese jungle while Command thought he was dead. Pain wasn't new. It was a rhythm. By the 7th minute, the Brujan was wheezing. A broken rib, maybe 2. Jace had one good eye, both hands bloodied, and teeth loose in his jaw. He didn't smile. He just kept stepping forward. Then Kaverick barked, enough. The Brujan retreated, shame simmering behind swollen eyes. Jace turned. And Kaverick's clawed fist caught him straight in the face. Cartilage crunched. The world tilted. Jace dropped to his knees. Blood poured from his nose, slick and hot. He could hear it hitting the sand. His vision blurred, ears rang. Someone laughed. It wasn't the recruits, it was Kaverick. That was a lesson, human, the instructor growled, pacing around him like a predator. Your weakness is not in the body. It's in your audacity. Jace didn't speak. He rose. Unsteady, yes, but upright. His mouth didn't move, but his stare did all the talking. He looked Kaverick dead in the eye, blood painting his chin like war paint. The instructor's smirk faltered. Silence stretched like a noose. Kaverick's voice cracked like a whip. You have until cycle end to wash the sand off your failure, or you leave this station in a bag. Jace finally replied, voice gravel dry, you'll be the one leaving. Just not walking. Later that night, Jace sat alone in the dim barracks, concrete walls, a single bunk, recycled air thick with mildew. He touched his nose. Pain flared white behind his eyes. He didn't bother setting it. Let it hurt. Let it burn into the bones. Pain was just a bookmark, a memory worth keeping. He stared at the metal ceiling, flexing his fingers slowly. No med gel. No help. No sympathy. That was fine. He wasn't here for survival. He was here to finish something. A voice crackled softly in the corner, an old hollow recording of his final debrief before being shipped to the Crucible. Corporal Thorne, the Admiral had said, "This is a diplomatic move, but unofficially, we need one of ours to make a statement. The galaxy doesn't respect us. They tolerate us. You can change that." By doing what? Jace had asked. The Admiral had looked him dead in the eye. By surviving hell. And dragging the devil out by the spine. Now, lying in the flickering dark, Jace whispered to no one, "One spine. Got it." Then he slept, with his boots on. And one eye open. Jace woke to the sound of bone sirens. A high-frequency hum vibrated through the walls like a swarm of hornets. It meant one thing, 0-hour drills. He sat up fast, boots still on from the night before. Blood had crusted beneath his nose. His uniform clung to sweat. The pain in his face was a dull throb now. Familiar. Tamed. Outside, the Crucible's central courtyard glowed under harsh arc lights. Rows of recruits, glowing carapaces, plated torsos, slitted eyes, stood in staggered formation. Jace joined the line. His steps weren't steady, but they were defiant. Kaverick watched from above, arms folded, face carved from disdain. Today, the instructor barked, "We see who breaks first." They were led to the gravity pits. 5-meter-deep trenches lined with obsidian tiles. Gravity wells set beneath each pit pulled bodies down at 3 times normal weight. Movement inside felt like drowning in stone. Each recruit was ordered in one by one. The command, dig to the bottom with bare hands, then climb out. Jace entered his pit. Gravity slapped him downward like a fist. His knees buckled, ribs compressed. The moment he moved, his joints screamed. Dirt turned to sludge under pressure. Clawing through it was like dragging a mountain behind him. Time lost meaning. His nails split. His palms blistered. Blood mixed with grit. He kept going. From above, voices mocked. "The meatling is twitching," one said. "Bleed faster, human. You might fertilize the pit," another laughed. He didn't look up. Didn't answer. Just dug. Hours passed. A few recruits collapsed. One was pulled out unconscious, another coughed blood and vanished from the roster. Jace reached the bottom. Then he climbed. Each pull was a war against his own body. Shoulders tore. Thighs trembled. But he rose, inch by inch, until his hand broke the surface and gripped the rim. He hauled himself out and collapsed, face first in the gravel. Kaverick didn't clap. He didn't speak. Just turned his back and walked away. Later, at the mess hall, the silence said more than the noise. Jace sat alone. His food, a gray block of synthetic protein, smelled like recycled mold. He chewed anyway. Across the room, a pair of recruits stared at him. One was Trish, a reptilian scout with vertical pupils and a tail that twitched when he lied. The other, a thin avian medic, leaned in and whispered. Trish stood and approached. "You're insane," he said flatly, sliding a ration pack onto Jace's tray. Jace looked up. "Not the first time I've heard that." Trish hesitated, "Then Saturday they're betting how long before you snap. Or die." Jace wiped blood from his hand and opened the pack. "Who's betting on me winning?" "Only me. But I don't bet high." "That's smart," Jace muttered, taking a bite. Trish watched him for a beat. "You're not here just to prove something. What's your angle?" Jace swallowed. His jaw popped as he answered. To finish. Trish frowned. Finish what? Jace didn't explain. Some truths weren't currency. They were weapons. The next day was worse. Kaverick activated the obstacle hall, 5 kilometers of death traps designed to cripple reflexes and erase confidence. Floors gave way without warning. Ceilings closed like iron jaws. Toxic mists hissed through vents when least expected. Jace's right ankle snapped in the first corridor. He limped forward anyway. Second corridor, laser grid with randomized paths. He moved low, stomach scraping metal. A searing line grazed his back. He didn't scream. Just grunted. Third, neural assault chamber. Projected illusions tailored to exploit fear. His mother's corpse. The Mali jungle, his teen dead in pieces. A little girl burned in a collapsed hospital. He remembered her name. But he kept walking. Tears didn't stop him. Pain didn't stall him. The illusions flickered, then failed. The system couldn't override his brain. By the end, he collapsed against the final door. The corridor behind him glowed with his blood. Kaverick waited outside, arms crossed. He looked mildly disappointed. No trophies for crawling, Terran. Jace spat blood at the instructor's boots. Didn't crawl. Kaverick raised a claw. Final exam is coming. The gauntlet. Only 10% survive. Jace nodded, barely conscious. Make sure you're there. Front row. That night, in his quarters, Trish entered uninvited. You need healing gel. You're going septic. Jace sat on the edge of the bed, foot wrapped in cloth. No gel. That's not toughness. That's stupidity. On Earth, we didn't get gel. We got whiskey and duct tape. Trish sighed and sat beside him, pushing a small vial into Jace's palm. Take it. Not for your pride. For the ones who want you to finish. Jace looked at him for a long time. Why help me? Because Kaverick doesn't fear you, Trish said. And he should. Jace didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark, watching the reflection of his bruised face in the polished wall. He didn't see pain. He saw potential. Not just to survive, but to shift the weight of the galaxy. To plant something real in the concrete soil of alien superiority. A spine, perhaps. His voice cracked softly in the quiet. You're next, Kaverick. The gauntlet opened with a scream. Not a recruit. The wall. It peeled open like a wound, exposing an obsidian tunnel bathed in red light. Steam hissed from the floor. The Crucible's final test had no spectators, only cameras. No rules, only survival. Jace stood at the threshold, shoulders wrapped in gauze, ankle stiff in a splint made from scavenged tray metal and bootlace. He rolled his neck once and walked in. Behind him, Kaverick watched from the command platform, arms folded, expression unreadable. The door sealed with a hiss. The first kilometer was fire. Gas vents erupted without pattern. The corridor twisted like a burning intestine, each step a gamble. Jace moved low, fast, timing the bursts by ear. Twice his sleeve caught flame. He beat it out with his elbow and kept going. Second zone, zero-gravity blade grid. Dozens of serrated discs floated mid-air, reacting to heat and motion. He exhaled slowly, using the coldest part of his breath to guide his steps. One blade clipped his shoulder, ripped clean through cloth and skin. Blood spun out in droplets around him. He gritted his teeth and drifted forward, shoving off a steel beam, twisting mid-air. A blade missed his thigh by inches. Another word passed his ear. He landed on the next platform, one arm hanging useless. Still walking. The third zone was the kill room. No warning. Just darkness. Then a roar. Something massive slammed into the ground behind him. 8 legs. Metal-reinforced hide. Kaverick's pet, maybe. Jace didn't run. He reached down, grabbed a broken pipe from the debris pile, and turned. The creature lunged. Jace ducked, rolled under its belly, and drove the pipe upward between the armor plates. A hiss, then shrieking. He yanked the pipe sideways. Warm fluid sprayed his face. The beast crashed against the wall, convulsing. Jace stepped back, chest heaving. He left the pipe buried and moved on. At the final gate, he found Kaverick. No armor. No weapons. Just standing there, tall and still, as if waiting in a chapel. "I should have ended you on day one," the instructor said. Jace wiped blood from his eye. "You tried. You're still a mistake." "Then fix it," Jace said, raising his fists. Kaverick moved first. Claws slashed through air. Jace sidestepped, caught a glancing hit to the ribs, and countered with a low punch to the alien's gut. It was like punching stone. Kaverick twisted, grabbed Jace by the shoulder, and slammed him into the wall. Bone cracked. Pain flashed white. Jace drove his forehead into Kaverick's nose. The alien snarled, claws digging into Jace's side. Blood spilled fast now. Jace dropped his weight, twisted free, and kicked Kaverick in the knee. The joint buckled. The alien staggered, but didn't fall. They circled. "You're not strong," Kaverick growled. "You're stubborn." "Same thing," Jace said, spitting red onto the floor. Kaverick lunged again, arms wide, jaws open. Jace did something unexpected. He stepped into the grab. Wrapped both arms around Kaverick's torso. Bit into his collarbone like a wild dog. Kaverick howled. Jace dropped low, grabbed the alien's leg, and used his last reserve of strength to lift and slam. The floor shook. Kaverick gasped. Jace mounted him, drove an elbow into the instructor's throat. Once. Twice. The claws reached up, weakly swiping. He caught one. Snapped it. Used it like a dagger. He stabbed downward, into the instructor's neck. The claws stopped moving. Breath left Kaverick's body in a slow wheeze. But Jace wasn't done. With one hand, he reached behind the corpse's shoulders, fingers searching through muscle and sinew. The room filled with the sound of tearing. A moment later, Jace stood. Holding the spine. Slick. Purple-black. Still twitching. The cameras blinked. The door opened. He walked out. The courtyard was silent. Dozens of recruits stood in rows. No one moved. No one laughed. Jace emerged from the smoke, shirt torn, blood down to his boots. In his right hand, he held the instructor's spine. In his left, his helmet. He dropped the spine at the feet of the Galactic Council envoy. The alien diplomat blinked. Is he dead?" Jace nodded. "He passed." "I didn't." Later, in a private chamber aboard the diplomatic vessel, the envoy offered him water. Real water. Clean. Jace drank. "You've done something irreversible," the envoy said. "The Crucible has never had a human survive. Let alone, dominate." Jace wiped his mouth. "You're going to offer me a job, aren't you?" "Yes." Jace leaned back in the chair. "You'll need a new instructor. And better rules. We will consider your recommendations." He stood, limping toward the window. Beyond the glass, stars. Endless. Open. He whispered to himself, just loud enough to hear it bounce off the steel. One down. They didn't bury Kaverick. His body was flash incinerated in the Crucible's waste chamber, a quiet deletion of legacy. No ceremony. No honors. Just a memo filed under Instructor terminated in performance breach. Jace didn't ask where the ashes went. He kept the spine. The days that followed were slower but not quieter. Recruits who once spit in his direction now saluted in silence. No words. Just eye contact. Recognition. The kind that grows in the bones when survival carves its lessons deep. Chase didn't walk taller, he walked heavier. Trish found him in the upper training deck, where artificial storms battered the compound's upper shell. Lightning crawled across the transparent dome, flashing violet against the stars. "You know they're afraid of you now," Trish said, tail flicking behind him. "They should be." Trish tilted his head. "You're not just a soldier anymore. You're a signal." Chase didn't answer. He stood facing the lightning, arms crossed, the scars on his hands still raw. "You broke something permanent," Trish added. Chase turned. "Good." In the council chamber 3 days later, the Galactic Accord's high table convened. Species from 14 systems. Their faces projected above chrome pedestals, some biological, others digital proxies. Cold, analytical voices echoing in too perfect sync. "Corporal Thorne," the lead voice said. "Your performance exceeded all thresholds. Didn't do it for the numbers. We know. Which is why we're not just offering you a commendation." Chase waited. "We want you to return to the Crucible," they continued. "Not as a recruit. Not as an officer. As its new commanding instructor." Chase didn't smile. "You want me to teach others how to break things? We want you to teach them how not to be broken." Silence lingered. He stepped forward. "Then we do it my way." "Meaning?" "No more beatdowns for sport. No species superiority. If someone makes it through, they make it through on their feet. Not with claws in their face." "Your conditions are noted," the council replied. "Approved. And, one more thing." A datapad slid toward him. He picked it up. "Human candidates. 15 of them. Cleared for Crucible trials. All volunteers. All waiting. You gave us a reason to believe in your kind," the envoy said. Chase stared at the list. Familiar surnames. Some he remembered from old war rosters. "Then get ready," he muttered. "We're about to ruin everyone's expectations." He returned to the Crucible 2 weeks later. Not in a jumpsuit. Not on foot. He landed in the instructor's transport, doors parting with magnetic hiss. The air was the same, dry, angry, filled with echoes, but everything else had changed. No laughter at his arrival. No sneering. The recruits stood tall, 10 species, mixed unit. Waiting. He walked past them, straight to the training platform. Dropped a sealed case on the deck. Opened it. Inside, Kavarik's spine. Cleaned. Preserved. Mounted in crystal. A trophy, yes. But also a warning. He turned to the recruits. "I'm not here to be liked. I'm not here to hurt you. But I will break you, every soft edge, every excuse, every false certainty you brought from your homeworld." They watched, silent. "If you finish this course, you won't be who you were. You'll be better. Not because I said so. Because you earned it." A clawed hand rose from the back. A thin, yellow-scaled cadet. "What happens if we don't earn it?" Chase met his gaze. "Then you'll crawl home knowing Earth's worst made it through what you couldn't." Days bled into weeks. Chase trained them hard, but not cruelly. Gravity drills now had feedback sensors. Obstacle mazes taught coordination, not chaos. Neural chambers were reprogrammed to challenge, not traumatize. But one rule remained unchanged. No help. No second chances. You fall, you rise. Or you're done. And one night, as the rain hammered the barracks, a recruit asked, "Sir, why the spine? Why keep it?" Chase stood at the doorway, arms behind his back. "The spine," he said, "tells the truth." He turned toward them. "It doesn't lie about what you stood for. Or what broke you. Or what you did with the pain." He walked out without another word. 3 months later, the Crucible produced its first human-led graduating class. 25 candidates. 16 survived. One was Trish. He'd taken Kavarik's old role, field commander. As they stood on the departure deck, waiting for the shuttle, Trish looked over the stars one last time. "I never thought I'd survive this place." Chase grinned, "For once. You didn't. The old you died back there. The one that walked out? That's the one who'll lead." Trish nodded. "And you? What now?" Chase looked back toward the crucible. Toward the storm. "I stay," he said. "There's always more to break."